Can you give me an overview about the industry and what are the market dynamics like when we talk about this particular industry?
Yeah, so when if you go by the researches and research white papers, the whole travel and hospitality as an industry is valued around 800 billion US dollars as a sector, and it involves all sort of travel businesses, flights, hotels, cars, vacation rental packages, cruise, everything.
Yeah. Hi, Dharmendra. How are you doing today?
Hi, Mohit. I'm doing great today. How are you doing?
Great, great, great.
Uh,
Thanks. Right. Okay. So, let me set the context of the discussion first, right? So today we'll be talking about technology trends in travel and tourism industry, right? And today we have Mr. Dharmendra Ladi, CEO at Vervotech, right? So before we get into the set of the questions and delve deeper into the conversation, I'm very much curious to know more about your journey, right? So how has it been so far? If you can shed some light over there, it would be great.
Sure, Mohit. So first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity, to have this conversations. I'm looking forward to really great discussion for next half an hour. So thanks for that. So talking about how we evolved as a company, so we started in 2019 as a small startup based in Pune. Around 3 to 4 guys. So the co-founders that I have, we work for around 10 to 12 years together in travel technology space. We know this problem that we're solving from last 10 years, and we know there are no better solutions which can be, which can have the global standards and solve this problem, comprehensively. So the problem statement, if we can talk from a vision point of view, what we're trying to do is we are trying to standardize or sort of aggregate all the hotel accommodation data all over the globe, may it be coming from 100 suppliers or 1,000 suppliers. We want to aggregate and have the single source of truth for all accommodation data for to use for all the travel business all over the globe. So that is the one liner I can say where we want to be a sort of Salesforce of a travel content or accommodation content in a better word. So that is what is the vision we are working on. So and of course there are challenges around aggregation, distribution, availability of the data. Data discrepancies. So, but our teams are like sort of super excited and they have the right skills to solve the right problem. So, for example, we use a lot of machine learning and artificial intelligence to detect the patterns in this petabytes of data that we are streaming in the systems, and then we are getting into the results of right sort of mappings. For example, same hotel or as a travel agency, you can see you might have seen the same hotel seen multiple times, like let's say Hayat Dubai seen a couple of times in the results page. So that is the exact problem. It's a very simple problem to understand, but to solve that problem, it's pretty complex system which works behind the scenes, and that results into those sort of discrepancies and duplication. So yeah, so we are 3.5 years in the journey. We are completely bootstrapped, and we are profitable. We have clients, customers which are our travel businesses, more than 1,000 travel businesses empowered by our content, which are using on production systems. So yeah, that's in short, what we're doing and how we are progressing so far.
Quite interesting, but you mentioned right there, correct? So now that we have the overview of what you do, right, and how your journey has been, can you give me an overview about the industry and what are the market dynamics like when we talk about this particular industry?
Yeah, so when if you go by the researches and research white papers, the whole travel and hospitality as an industry is valued around 800 billion US dollars as a sector, and it involves all sort of travel businesses, flights, hotels, cars, vacation rental packages, cruise, everything. So industry size is huge, but the problem that Vervotech is solving is more towards hotels and accommodation. So there are around more than 50,000 online and offline travel businesses across the globe, like websites. Maybe they might be having small travel offline booking system, So there are around 50,000. That is what we have as a market size for the hotel and accommodation content across the globe, who are specifically dealing with this particular problem of aggregating the content. So if I can talk about market dynamics, there are so many factors. It's a very volatile industry because, as you can see, uh, in pandemic, probably the travel and hospitality is the biggest impacted sector where, almost the half of the hotels are dried. They stopped their business, or they were almost all the hotels which are running, they were running on almost 10% capacity of their staff, no business, nothing. So that was the challenge where any hazardous or sort of pandemic sort of things happens again, travel would be the first thing to get impacted. But other dynamics is travel innovations. For example, recently we have seen a lot of progression around metaverse or having immersive content experience using augmented reality, reality. So travel experience, or rather the customer or traveler behavior or expectations has been changed. Like traditionally, it is like the way travelers used to travel is changed drastically. Now it's with the social media platform. There are so many social influencers from let's say Instagram, TikTok, which sort of drive the travel businesses. It's a different business model altogether getting evolved through these social media platforms. So travel after pandemic is definitely that's very very important dynamics. How technology is playing a role. In hand to hand and hand in hand with social media platforms. Of course, disruption in supply chain is also again a very big dynamic because what mix of inventories that you are using on your travel business is very crucial. How much value proposition you are adding in terms of rates and availability. That is again a very impactful because there are I can tell you there are 500 suppliers all over the globe which are providing the same hotel, but what is the cheapest rate? It's something that is very hard to figure out. So this supply chain problem is again very crucial to crack if you want to get into selling the travel products. And of course, there are so many other factors like recently, economies are shaken up after war of in Europe and Russia. The inflation is going up globally. So these are the dynamic things which keep happening, which impacts the overall travel industry. In a nutshell, if I talk about only hotel because it's a broad topic, if I can talk about flights, that is a separate, altogether different beast where it has different economics, fuel prices, and everything. But in a nutshell, technology innovations and these dynamic changes of pandemic or wars, these are recently started impacting overall in the travel industry. So, but considering all this, the shape and speed of recovery post pandemic looks quite different, across different parts of the world. For example, US started picking up almost a year back. Now, in India started after that slowly. So it's very region based specific as well. How the things are coming back to normal.
Correct, correct. Interesting right there. So now primarily my next question is that how mature is the Indian market as compared to the rest of the world, right? So you mentioned somewhere, right, that US had started off with travel a year back, almost a year back, while India has started just now. So any other insights that you can provide when we compare Indian market primarily with the rest of the world?
All right. So if you talk about Indian market, the agencies or the travel, in fact, the how travel business works is different. So if you can understand from a, let's say, basic two factors of B2B and B2C, where B2B means there are agencies like, let's say, TBO, Akbar Travels, or Dia Travels. If you talk about Indian market, they have very strong agent base, and the agents are basically performing most of the business. Of course, there are players in B2C as well, like McMetrip, but Indian travel, when it comes to accommodation business, is driven by a lot of B2B things or B2B companies. Versus in US, it's more of a B2C thing, wherein customers directly go and book the travel for it. If you see the percentage wise, it's more customer driven travel business in US sector, in my opinion, as compared to Indian market. So that is something, and actually these companies which are operating is very, and because the technology is basically not evolved as compared to US, and that's why people are still relying on B2B things. But with technology advancements, I believe Indian market or Indian consumers as a traveler would also directly going into researching about the package and looking for it. So that is something I think will be more prevalent when we will explore or get into more technology innovations as a travel offering.
Correct. Rightly mentioned. Now, you said that there are, technological advancements, right? So I believe that apart from this, there will be several other key driving factors which are driving the industry ahead, right? So if you can highlight some of those driving factors, it will be great.
So, if we talk about software as a service in the travel industry, what are the factors if we can talk about is you have to have very good teams. So, for example, at Vervotech, we have very expert teams in terms of marketing, sales, products teams, engineering team, or rather the customer success team is, we have very strong teams or experts in these teams working, and they understand their job and responsibilities very well. So that is very important factor for any SaaS business in travel industry, that you have to have these basics covered in terms of running any SaaS company. Basic 4 to 5, 6 functions of your whole growth plan. Of course, the other factor is pricing that you offer. Basically, you have to have continuous cash flow based on which stage of your progress you are. For some, like for startup company, you have to cover all the finance books, and you have to have that continuous cash flow if you want to. If your strategy is to be a profitable startup versus funded startup, so where you are investing and then your plans are towards building product and profitability comes later. So it depends on how your pricing for your products is structured. Basically, you have to have very transparent pricing, and it should bring right value proposition for your consumers. Otherwise, even if you have great product, but if the pricing is not right, it might not fly as you expect. So, and with B2B SaaS specifically, so customer success, as I already touched upon, is the key factor, because now of course there is a support teams, but customer success, it's something where you have continuous collaboration with consumers, understanding their growth plan, their expansions, keeping up the right relationship with your customers is something very important. It's you get to grow with mutually. That is also, in fact, that is what B2B SaaS company should focus on, where you grow with with your customers. Sorry. Retentions and renewals of your customers is again an important factor. And the way the companies and small startup companies evolving, partnerships and collaborations is, I believe, is something very crucial for the businesses to grow. For example, we do a lot of technology partnership companies with to sort of collaborate and have our product as their as a part of their product offerings, and we work with them partnership where uh, we are sort of growing business mutually, and there are very tight and easy sort of collaborations which are happening on technology side front as well when we collaborate with other companies. The last but not the least is brand building. You have to have conscious efforts all the time for presenting your brand, and through relevant events. You have to keep doing PR press releases to the right network with the right set of people. So that is something is very important, because eventually your customers will start selling for you as a SaaS offering. If you're a happy customer, they will sell for you. That's what we have been observing and experiencing from last one and a half year.
Right, right. So now, I'm curious that, what are the key challenges which are faced by the consumers in this industry, if you can highlight it.
Uh, sure, yeah. So basically, challenges faced by travel agencies are, depends on the phases in which that agency is. But on very high level, it is again contextual to geography, scale at which the agency is operating, how the supplier management is done. Uh, if I have to pick the most important challenge, the global content standards and the source for quality accommodation content is a big challenge currently for agencies. Because content is a king. People are, at least in B2C sector, content can influence a lot of decision making process for any specifically young customers. Uh, Quality content is key for driving these experiences as well. For example, you can have very amazing videos or photos, for any particular property on Instagram or social medias, and then that can drive the business for that particular property. So these things have started happening, but this content generation is the problem. You have to have a lot of content from a lot of sources to accumulate and then influence the buying decisions. So that is not, it is a scattered content is scattered, rather there are so many small companies who are actually sort of hiring bloggers and creating this content and sort of trading these properties with better quality content of images, descriptions, their amenities, and so on and so forth. So that is something which is key challenge to in terms of growing the business, growing
Correct.
the revenue. Beyond that, timeless technology or product is the key for staying relevant in any odd odd circumstances. For example, the technologies which are built 15 or 10, 15 years back, though old school travel products are getting out of the business because the technology stack that they were rely on are no longer or no match for evolving and flexible technology choices that recently the startups are starting doing. So in my previous stint, we built a lot of enterprise technologies for travel businesses. We help to scale those companies, and it is a very competitive ecosystem. So what I've learned from that experience is having the software or the product that you're building, maybe software or maybe in offline offering that you're putting in the marketplace. It has to have the timeless behavior. Even if you can able to sell the similar offering 10 years down the line, or your software is going to work the exact same after 10 years down the line, that is something can keep you for sustainable.
Right. So, I'm curious to know more about what is the solution that you are offering, and, how is it different from other key players who are out there operating in the market?
Right. So child businesses, OTAs, DMCs, TMCs, as in these destination management companies or travel management companies or any other hotel providers are currently struggling for a supplier content or a superior content rather, wherein uh, quality is top notch. So the duplicate hotel content or a bad content or unavailability of the content can have a substantial negative impact on your brand. So if you see any website is with no star rating or no, let's say, map experience or geocourse information, customers typically try to go away from, they lose confidence on such websites where the content is very minimum or it's a wrong, let's say. So we leverage technology to remove this challenge from our child business partners. So we are solving these industry problems through our three sort of main products, which is hotel mapping, room mapping, and master hotel content. So hotel mapping is basically uh, you know unifying the hotel from 50, 500 or 1,000 different sources. So for example, uh, Hyatt Regency Dubai may be distributed by 500 suppliers, but saying that this is one hotel which is same from, let's say, XYZ company or a PQR company is nothing but same. So identifying that uniqueness and deduplication based on different data parameters coming from different sources is what we solve in hotel mapping. So we give the very unique list of hotels all over the globe, around 3 million properties, out of which 2 million are hotels and rest of them are apartment, villas, condos. So having that deduplication or one to many mapping of hotels is something that we do in hotel mapping. We use a lot of AI and machine learning. All these products are powered by top-notch and advanced algorithms of machine learning and natural language processing. And the results that we produce are far better and accurate as compared to any other service available in the market right now for solving this particular problem. The same problem exists at room level. We sort of deduplicate rooms coming from different sources and give the very accurate and detailed rooms information for any particular hotel. So basically, if the question comes in, your these are the problems that travel industry is facing from, let's say, maybe since it started going online, right? So maybe 20 years. So how different we are from other players? Well, it is the approach that we take. It's very innovative and transparent approach. Whatever dashboards or the transparency that we bring into the customers is has not been done in the past. Uh, Things were in black boxes presented to the end customers in a in a packaged way, but we have brought that all transparency right from the all data aggregators and presented to end consumers, saying this is the quality of the data and this is what you are getting and this is what you are missing. So that transparency has brought a lot of confidence and trust from us, from all the travel or the clients that we are using, because they now know what is happening in the system, how much I'm missing out and how much I'm better as compared to any other competitor that they have. So, and these world-class products are validated across the globe. For example, we have very strong basis, not customer basis in North America, Europe, Middle East. Of course, India is almost covered. It's our home ground. Australia, Southeast Asia. So it's a globally validated product. We have customers who are basically validating the content that we have across the globe. So it's basically uh, uh, having, so as I just stated earlier, the vision is to be a industry leader for accommodation data, and we have plans to expand this suite of three products with few more products which will have the complete solution as a content for any type of travel business. So yeah, that's how I would summarize on the offerings that we have, or the products that we have.
Correct. That's quite interesting, but right. So, what you aspire to become is a one-stop shop for everything or every need, right? That is out there
Hmm.
in terms of travel, right? So now that
Yeah.
brings me to my next question, right? So you mentioned that you have been into this market since past couple of years, right? So I'm sure that market might have evolved drastically, right? And what are the key trends that you have seen throughout? If you can highlight those, it will be great.
Uh, so, of course, in last couple of years, post-pandemic, the leisure travelers have been, preferring accommodations. If I can, talk about one trend where, leisure travelers basically they are preferring accommodation which is perceived to be safe and sanitary. For example, we have seen surge of around 60 to 65% in search patterns with words like cleanliness, safety, hygienic. And of course, this is not applicable only for accommodations or hotel booking. This is also applicable for flights as well. So people are now taking holidays more often than before to catch up on their holidays, which were missing during COVID-19. So travel as a market is growing faster than ever, and I'm hoping it will continue to be very aggressive in future as well. Uh, you know and also the traveler behaviors are have become more opportunistic, in my observation, with bookings were made with much closer date to the travel dates. So for example, I want to stay for, let's say, day after tomorrow, I'll book today or tomorrow. Earlier people used to plan and then book the hotel. So that is one change of behavior, because, and in fact this is coming out, but given the current time, or the COVID-19 or fourth wave or fifth wave coming, it's very dicey when I should book. So people are trying to book at the last minute. So that is one change. At the same time, the future level, future travel restrictions and quarantine requirements, although quarantines are still happening in few of the airports all over the globe, or the countries rather, not airports, but that is also a strong, leading to a strong preference for flexible bookings with the option for refunds or last minute cancellation and those sort of things. Uh, so currently the trends which are prominent and trying to make in travel description are, I would say metaverse, which I already talked about, or leisure or business and leisure travel combined, gastronomy to tourism, which is like combined with food and healthcare, food and basically accommodation combination. So that is something is also very trending. Or if you talk about payments, having contactless payment, those sort of things also are very much entrenched these days. So in a nutshell, I believe the pendulum is already swinging back towards more traditional priorities like the content, the cost, the timing of the travel when I'm going to do. So it is basically the way we used to 4 years back is already people are thinking in that way. Uh, People are making travel schedules also in future, and that is for me really very good sign as a travel technologist and someone who works in travel as a travel industry. So this is very important for boosting the conversion ratios or the revenues for all the travel businesses. Yeah.
Correct. Correct. You rightly mentioned that, right? So that brings me to my very last question. Like, where do you see yourself or other Vervotech in the next 3 years or so, maybe?
So, yes. So in 3 years, Vervotech, as I said, was established with vision of organizing this world accommodation content. And to be very honest, we will not stop until we solve this problem for everyone in the world. So, uh, we will work with the last property which exists on the planet, that onboard that and we'll make it available. Of course, as we as a company cannot go and of course work with each property individually. We do whatever it takes, the integrations or the collaborations that are needed to accommodate this data. So we'll keep working on that goal. I believe that is something we are already halfway down, where we have a lot of integrations, a lot of content around 770 million properties already on the board. So, but 3 years down the line, uh, I see an industry leader for accommodation content. And trust me, this accommodation content is a very fragmented, and there are still a lot of improvement areas in terms of quality of the content, the aggregation layer. There are so many companies, so many small players, even small, any, Maldives-based small DMC, they have the special traits, they have the special content. So onboarding and aggregating that is a aggregation is again a challenge. So there is a lot of work which will go into product and technology to onboard those. There are different distribution models which also worked upon, where how we can give this content back to the OTAs or travel agencies. So all those we want to do this completely differently, and I believe we'll solve this problem of distribution and making this content globally. That is one of the objectives that we want to achieve in next 3 years. So at this point of time, our teams, to solve this problem are super excited, and they want to keep thriving for any new opportunity or any challenge which is coming across in our way. And I strongly believe we will be, as I said, Salesforce or Google of accommodation content in the next years for sure. Yeah.
Interesting goal right there, Dharmendra. So that brings me to end of the questions from my end, and it was a lovely discussion, and it was lovely having you over here. And I'm sure a lot of people will find this discussion very insightful, right? So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot again, Dharmendra.
Thank you, Mohit. Thank you once again. Thanks for this opportunity, and
All
looking
right,
forward to you know,
great.
more such discussions in future as well. Thank you.
Right, right. Thank you. Thank you.